Hello and welcome to episode 1 of the 6 Feet Apart Dental Podcast. I think that title is pretty self-explanatory. I'm Dr. James Huang, and joining me today is Dr. Storm Hagen.
Hello, everyone.
Who owns a practice here in Fountain Valley, California. Today, we're going to talk about re-entering the working environment as a dentist and as a practice owner. So, Storm, you've actually been back to work for a week.
That's true. Yes.
And in that week, any initial impressions?
It's been very different. Coming back to work, I would say from a doctor standpoint, it's been great. I really enjoyed coming back and making things. I think that's why we all got into this business, is because we enjoy talking to people all day long. I mean, I feel like at least 50% of my job is talking to people. And the rest of it is making things with my hands. And so that's been really fulfilling and nice to be back, both chatting with patients who I've known, longtime patients. It's really good to see them. And we had a little bit of interaction with them while we were gone, because we were calling patients and rescheduling and things like that. But sure, it's nice to see people in the flesh and actually be working again. And it's nice to be using my skills again and be using my hands at making things. I didn't realize how much I had missed it.
Right.
So it's been really nice. And I would say the patients, I've never seen people so happy to go to the dentist.
Really?
It's been very, very strange because people are happy to get out of the house. This is like their one big outing for the day, to come to the dentist. And everybody's very, very understanding. We have people wearing masks and things in the office, and everybody, nobody asks questions if we have to reschedule appointments because we had to cut down on the number of patients that we had in the office. Everybody, they don't ask, well, that seems unfair or whatever. I mean, you just say that's the way it is. That's how we're allowed to reopen. And, I think this whole pandemic, as it were, I think it made everybody kind of realize that you need to be more patient and you kind of need to roll with the punches. It's been kind of a nice reset, I know, for myself as well.
Right.
It's very easy, especially with the way, the economy was really good before and things like that. It's really easy to, things just kept rolling. It was very expected for things to be on the spot and perfect every single time. And now it seems like people are just a lot more understanding, which is great.
So speaking of rolling with the punches and reopening, what steps have you taken? I suppose we're going to have to go a while back here.
Yeah.
Like, what steps did you take when you had to shut down? And then can you kind of walk through that process from, closing week to eventually reopening this last week?
Yeah, it's, I would say, like I said from earlier, as a dentist, it's been great being open again. As a practice owner, I would say it's been the opposite. It is a mess, and it's been pretty miserable. So I remember back, the last day that I worked was Friday, the 13th of March.
That's crazy.
Which is crazy. And actually going forward, we did some training, and the day that we came back was Wednesday, the 13th of May. So exactly 2 months that we were closed. Yeah, 2 months of closure.
I remember that day that you decided, okay, we're shutting down.
Yeah. So I have a partner that I own the practice with, and so we both worked Friday the 13th. And I remember, things were getting a little bit more serious with COVID. People were starting to get worried. This was still in the depths of buying toilet paper and paper towels and water bottles and all that stuff. But I remember, we were not that scared of it in the office, and it seemed okay. And then it just seemed like it went from 0 to 100 super quickly.
It did.
And so we worked Friday, Saturday, everything was fine. And then I remember just seeing the news and talking with, I have a really good relationship with my root canal specialist, my endodontist, who she works directly above me. And her husband is a nephrologist, and he rounds at a lot of hospitals in the LA area. And so she had a lot of inside information as far as what he was hearing. And so she's always kind of given us the inside scoop. And I just remember Sunday talking to her for an hour, and her saying, oh yeah, Brian is seeing crazy amounts. They're already running out of ventilators, and I guess I didn't realize how serious it was, and she really scared me. And so I think about maybe 2 or 3 o'clock that afternoon, I called my partner Benny, and I said, hey, maybe we should think about closing the office for a couple of days. And really, we were thinking like maybe Monday, Tuesday at that point.
Right. At least in the short term.
Yeah. Just to see what it was like. And he was like, I was just about to call you and say the same thing. We were talking it over, and, he's like, his wife works in the medical field as well. And so he's like, I was just talking with her, and we were trying to see, thinking that maybe that would be a good idea. Just kind of let the dust settle.
Right.
And see what's going to happen. And so I remember we have a really big group text with all of our staff members. And so we sent out a message at maybe 4 or 5 p.m., probably like 4:30, I think. And we just said, hey, you know what? We're going to close the office Monday, Tuesday. Don't worry about rescheduling the patients. We'll take care of it. And so, we had a remote access. We logged on and called people that night. But I remember my team, 2 of them, that we got messages back, and it's like, are you joking? Or, like, haha. I just totally didn't believe it. And which I'm like, I of course get, because it just changed so quickly. And we really just had no idea. I mean, we were closed Monday, Tuesday, and then all of a sudden it was the rest of the week. And then it was the next week, and then the following week. And then it was closed until further notice, basically, at that point. And so we would go in, Benny and I would go in a couple times a week and call the patients, because, I mean, we still had patients scheduled every day. We had, and our practice is fairly busy. I mean, we have anywhere on a single day from 2 doctors and 2 hygienists to 3 doctors and 3 hygienists. So got a pretty busy schedule, and we were fully booked. We were very busy.
Right.
So we would go in and reschedule patients. And originally we were rescheduling patients into, like April from March. And I was asking my hygienist, hey, can you add a day here? Some days we were going to have 4 hygienists on a single day just to accommodate those people, because we, wanted to keep them on the same schedule. And then I don't remember when it was. At some point, we just started saying, okay, we're not going to reschedule people. We're just going to start canceling appointments or moving them, because by the time that we had to reschedule the people we had already rescheduled, because we were still closed.
You're doubling up.
Yeah, exactly. It got to be crazy. And then the further and further it got, the more we realized that there's no way we're going to have 4 hygienists on a single day. There's not going to ever be that many people, probably forever. I don't know how much longer or what it's going to be like, but I have a feeling that's going to be the new normal in
the short term.
Yeah,
sure.
I mean, we have an 8 operatory practice, and there's just no way with two or 3 practitioners and 4 hygienists. There's just no way that's too much patient flow, and that's too many people sitting close to each other and things like that. So we just started moving people out into the summer or just rescheduling them. And I would say for the most part, like I said earlier, I mean, everybody was super understanding. Right. Very, very nice. And they go, I understand. I'd rather reschedule my appointment in September or something like that. Just push it way off. And I would say, I mean, things went okay during quarantine. We have a really good team, so we're really lucky. Everybody's super close. There was like I said, we had a big group text, and everybody would talk all the time, and we would do Zoom happy hours with the team. And so that was really neat. And it was something that we've done happy hours and stuff in the past, but it wasn't a regular thing, and this was like definitely more of a regular thing, and something where, I mean, yeah, you get to talk to people, and you're in their homes, which is definitely something that doesn't happen. I would say on the other side, I mean, that was the good part. The frustrating part was, I mean, and anybody who owns a practice or is any sort of near any sort of management position of a practice, I mean, they would understand the frustration that you've got 6 different regulatory bodies, and all of them are saying different things as far as when to reopen and what you can and cannot do. And, and it really took until May, I want to say like May 3rd or 4th, for us to finally get the idea that, okay, it's the California Department of Public Health that has the final say. Because before that, we had California Dental Society, we had American Dental Society, we had Orange County Dental Society, we had California Department of Public Health, CDC.
Right, and they're all slightly different.
We had the board, we had California, we had Orange County. I mean, we had LA County. And I think the really frustrating part was, they're all saying slightly different things. We have no idea who really has the final say over
Right.
what we can and cannot do and when we can reopen. And you would look at some of the guidelines and they were so different. And Orange County, it was very silent on the whole thing.
Right.
LA, we'd always hear stuff about LA County. You know, we'd see the mayor on TV and they were talking about, okay, you know, we're still sheltering in place. And if I tried to look something up and find it about Orange County, I still couldn't find it. I mean, they really, even if you Googled
Right.
it really hard and you go, is Orange County on lockdown or whatever, you couldn't, there was no
Exactly.
like clear cut, you know, page or clear cut guidance on it. And I finally realized that, okay, if there's no guidance, then that just basically means they're deferring to the state. So you just go back to see what California says. You just listen to Governor Newsom, and you see what they're saying, and that's basically what it's going to be for Orange County. And it was tough because, I mean, you've got this team of 9 people who, you know, they you know, we're not working, and none of us are working, right? And so it's scary, and I understand. I mean, I was in the same boat. I mean, my whole family, I'm a dentist, my dad's a dentist, my mom's a hygienist, so I mean, our entire family was unemployed. It's scary to not know when you're possibly going to be going back or who that decision's going to be coming from.
Right.
And I think it was disappointing, just some of the leadership from our dental societies. I mean, they were just so vague. They weren't very helpful at all. And in later months now, it's been a little bit better. But I mean, I understand that they don't know what was going on. But I mean, that's kind of your job. That was definitely, there was a little frustration on my end there. You know, why can't they just say, and I get that nobody in today's world, you can't stick your neck out like that because you're just going to get sued, especially in California.
Right.
So,
and it was such a a new thing.
Correct. I can see a lot of it was maybe like a CYA kind of incident there. Don't say anything. Don't say what you can and cannot do. But
definitely on your end as a practice owner,
it's frustrating and
it's terrible to deal
and
with.
It's scary. Yeah. And you know, not only are we worrying about our team and ourselves, but now we're also worrying about, I mean, we have loans on the practice. We have rent to pay. Our landlord didn't give us any forgiveness or any deferment on our rent. So, I mean, we were still paying the whole time we were closed. And at some point, I mean, we were very fortunate to have prepared, I guess, prepared for something like this. I mean, not to say that you could ever really prepare for this, but, you know, you have to have adequate reserves. And we were lucky that, you know, that was something that we thought about and we were lucky enough to be able to do. And so, I mean, we were okay to weather the storm, at least through that part, but it was still, and still is very, very stressful. And I think after maybe a month or so, you know, people stopped asking, okay, when are we coming back? What do you think? And I'm basically, because I'm like, I don't know. I don't have any more information for you. It was just basically radio silence. It seemed like the whole world had just kind of stopped and we were just waiting for something to happen or something to change. And you would watch the press conferences every day and stuff like that. And, you know, it's like, okay, we can't do this, or this is closed now, or, you know, nothing was really reopening. And so we just kind of sat there in limbo basically for a while. I would say between Benny and I, in 2 months, we saw probably 6 or 7 emergency patients. I mean, really barely anything. And most of I would say our patient population is it's a good variety, but I would say a lot of them are on the elderly side. And so, I mean, even if they had something happen, a crown come off or something like that, they didn't want to come in. It was not worth it. You know, if they were not in pain. And really the people that we saw, I mean, they were serious infections. And I don't think we even did any dentistry, really. I mean, I think I re-cemented a crown once. And the rest of the time it was a referral for an extraction or a root canal or something like that.
I see.
So we really didn't do much dentistry at all. I mean, to the point where I got a Typodont out and was like bored. So prepping on a Typodont because I just needed something to do. I had finished doing, you know, home improvement projects and I needed something else to do.
Get some of that energy out.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And make something again. And then, again, we were really lucky that we have a really tight-knit group of dentists in this area. And so we were on a chat and, you know, just an email group, and as well as chats and calls and everything like that with probably 20 other dentists in the area. And so we would always talk, one, about, all these new loan programs and how we're going to open our doors, and two, when people were thinking about opening and how, what different protocols they were going to put into place. And it was really nice, and it's super helpful. And it was nice knowing that, okay, if you have a group of 20 to 25 dentists in Orange County, when you open your doors, and maybe you're not sure, we never knew if there was going to be clear guidance on whether you were going to open your doors. We didn't know if we were going to say, okay, great, you can open, or if it's just going to be one of those things where you're, as a practice owner, you go, okay, I guess it's time to call it and we need to open.
Right.
That it was going to be nice that we were all going to open on the same day. So there was going to be a big group of us opening, and there's strength in numbers, or, we can see, okay, that's everybody else is feeling safe, and it makes sense. You're not just there on your own little island.
You're able to make a collective decision.
Correct. Yeah. And from the other side as well, I mean, it's scary. There's been a lot of bad press on dentists as well. I mean, saying these dentists are staying open, and not to say, I mean, yeah, there are some dentists that stayed open the whole time, and they were seeing emergency patients, that's what we had to do, and that's what we needed to do. But I know there was some other cases where maybe that was not right. That was not the case. I mean, people were open normal hours and things like that.
But for the most part,
it seemed like everybody obeyed advice and did their part.
And a lot of procedures in dentistry are essential.
Yeah, exactly. That's true. And but I think dentists got a lot of bad press from the few that were stayed open, and I think it really opened the floodgates on hygienists. It felt it really alienated hygienists from dentists, and the hygienists felt like they were being forced to work, and they were not being provided safe working conditions. They didn't have the appropriate PPE, and I mean, yeah, we didn't have face shields, we didn't have N95, we didn't have any of this stuff. So there's no way that even if we were allowed to open, there's no way we would open without that stuff.
Right.
And we're not going to put ourselves and our people in danger with that. So it was tough. It was tough thinking about that and worrying about, okay, is it going to be the right time? Because there's not a big light that says, okay, good to go. Everything is shades of gray.
It's not a red light, green light,
correct.
Anything like that.
Yeah, exactly.
So you've actually, I asked you about this earlier, and you sent me, well, it looks like an 8-page document as your return to work plan.
Yeah.
And I'd love if you could describe some of those things, both in terms of, I guess, finances, right? As well as, changes you made to the office, changes you made to some general procedures.
Yeah.
You can start wherever you like.
Yeah, I think we tried to show about 2 weeks. I mean, we had constantly, I ordered face shields in March. I ordered face shields like March 15th. But with the supply, yeah, I mean, I just knew that was going to be the way. And I knew that just the way that people were buying toilet paper and all that stuff, I mean, it was going to be really tough to get those things. So I ordered them. And come May 1st or May 2nd, I still hadn't gotten them. They were still on hold. I had ordered.
That's 2 weeks, over 2 weeks.
No, I mean, it was 2 months.
Oh.
I ordered a March.
Sorry,
March 15th, a month and a half of waiting, and still nothing. And, we had ordered N95, and we had ordered gowns, and we had ordered, all sorts of cavi wipes, everything like that.
Right.
And slowly the stuff was kind of trickling in, but maybe here and there, one box of cavi wipes. We had no N95. We had no face shields. We couldn't get gowns. And so it was just crazy waiting on all of this. And finally, some stuff did start to come in. And actually, Orange County Department of Public Health was actually distributed some N95s.
Oh.
And we were lucky enough to get a few of those.
Okay.
Yeah, so they had some in their stockpile, I guess.
Right.
So we were, one of my good friends, Rosemary, told me about it. And so we signed up online and we were able to get a few. So that was nice. And I felt better about that. And finally, May 5th or something like that, the face shields came in. And slowly stuff started rolling in. The gowns, still nothing. And as the weeks went on, we just started kind of putting together this document that we're talking about, because I just really wanted to have a consistent guide that people can follow. There's so many new regulations, and things are changing daily.
Exactly.
So
like what we talk about today might be different in a couple weeks.
Absolutely. I mean, CDC released new guidelines just a few days ago, and they're different than what was previously discussed. You know, it's constantly changing. And when you have a team like us, I mean, our team is relatively large, 9 people, 11 including the doctors. And so, you know, it can be easy to have people get lost or not know what to follow.
Right.
So we just wanted to lay it out and have something simple and easy to understand and consistent across every team member. And especially with having the 2 of us run the practice, you know, sometimes stuff can get lost between the 2 of us if somebody asks us something and, you know, I might say something and Benny might say something different or whatnot. And usually we're pretty good about discussing that stuff beforehand, but it happens, especially with stuff that's changing like this. So it's much easier. And we just made it on a Google Doc. We could look over it and talk through it. And so some of the major changes that we made, as far as the building goes, I mean, we got up on the roof, we put higher filtration HEPA filters in our air conditioning.
Okay. So it's filtered for your office.
Yep.
Independently.
Yep. Correct. Yeah. So we have 2 AC units for our office. And so both have 2 HEPA filters per unit. And then we purchased some medical grade air purifiers for all of our treatment rooms and our hygiene rooms, as well as our front office. So we've got individual filters in every room as well. We got plexiglass in the front, so to protect our front office, so people are not talking right on them and sneezing and coughing on them. We introduced a policy where everybody has to wear a mask. Patients, everybody, all workers, all the patients have to wear a mask anytime
upon entry.
Yep, anytime they're in. The only time that you can take your mask off is if you're having treatment done and you're in the chair, and we ask you to take your mask off.
I see.
As soon as we're done, mask goes back on. You walk up front. We really had a long debate on whether we were going to have a waiting room or not. And a lot of places are having people wait in their cars and call them in. And it came to the point where we reduced our capacity. So we have the maximum is 2 hygienists and 2 doctors in an 8 operatory practice. So, I mean, there's a minimum of probably 25 feet in between any single person at a time. I mean, it's a pretty significant amount. And our waiting room's fairly large. It probably had 15 or 16 chairs in it before and a couch. And so we felt comfortable. We reduced that down to 4 chairs, and they're more than 6 feet apart. I mean, they're probably 8 feet apart at least. And we actually got another person whose main job that they sit up in the front, and their only job is people stop at the front door. Patients cannot come in, and they have to get their temperature taken. They need to make sure that they filled out their new COVID screening form. They need to make sure that all their other forms are done, that there's nobody accompanying them. So no spouses, no boyfriends, no girlfriends, no children.
Interesting.
Yeah, so it's just the patient only that can come in. And so that person stops them at the door, make sure all those things are good, make sure that they're wearing a mask. And then that person's job is also to monitor the waiting room. So as soon as somebody gets up and leaves, they're cavi wiping that chair, making sure it's clean. So whoever's coming in and getting sat in a chair, they know that it's a clean chair. It's just been wiped down. And they're also in charge of keeping all the, we try and do everything we possibly can electronically, payments, forms, everything like that. But occasionally, there's some times where we do have to exchange paper things. And so, we have a dedicated area in our front office where this is the dirty area. And so the person who works up front, that's their job to keep that area clean and make sure that they're sterilizing it. And the person who, we have a few people that rotate through there, and they're our assistants. So they're very well versed in infection control. They know how to wipe down surfaces. They know how to do the double wipe. They know how to make sure it's staying wet long enough, and they know how to put on their gloves and everything like that appropriately.
A dental office is surprisingly qualified to handle something like this.
And I would say the vast majority of things that we were doing before, we didn't really have to change a whole lot. I mean, we added a few of the filters. We added, a couple other precautions. But for the most part, I mean, as far as sanitizing our instruments, sanitizing the rooms, it's exactly the same. I mean, we're full wiping down everything. We did move. We used to have, brochures and pamphlets and things like that out in the rooms. Those are gone now. Just just to eliminate, any possible, if there's splatter or something like that.
Right.
And we hardly ever use them anyway. I mean, nobody really takes pamphlets. Maybe
more
in the maybe
more
in the
for decoration.
Correct. Yeah. Maybe in the hygiene rooms, we might give out some for Sensodyne or something like that. But
right.
It's not a big deal. And so doing that, clearing that out. The only thing we added really in the back is we did get a hypochlorous acid fogging unit. As well as a machine that can make the hypochlorous acid. And so this is something that I didn't know about. I really had never heard of it. And
I have not.
Yeah.
Until you told me about it, I've never heard about it.
Yeah, it's pretty neat. So, what did everybody do during quarantine? We all watched webinars all day. So, Dr. Les Fang had some really great webinars at the beginning. I remember that was the first webinar I watched, was his understanding of COVID and what it's like and what the virus is like and how it's spreading. And then he would just do constant updates throughout. And I remember watching one at the end where it was like a return to work thing and what his thoughts were. And he talked about this cold fogging, and apparently it's very common. Hospitals use it, cruise ships use it. That's what they were using to fog, train stations and stuff like that in China and South Korea and stuff like that. So it's been around for a long time. And actually I found out that the hypochlorous acid is actually what they use to wash your vegetables. So you buy like a prepackaged salad or something at the store.
Oh, interesting.
And they'll actually rinse it with the acid, and it you don't even have to rinse it off. It's safe enough that all it leaves behind is salt. And it's actually in your contact solution. It's in a wound cleaner. So it's very safe. And of course, because of COVID, you can't get the fogger. You can't get hypochlorous acid. So I really had to search high and low to try and get a fogger,
right,
and then try and get the maker. And so we've added that in. So after every aerosol procedure, we go ahead and use that just to fog the air, make sure that if there's any aerosols in the air floating around, that somehow our filtration in the room and our office-wide filtration hasn't gotten, then this is going to go ahead and kill those, and it's going to get on the surfaces. And then after that, the room is disinfected again with the wipes and everything like that.
So could you describe, do you know like the basic mechanism that it works?
I don't. I mean, I think it's, from what I understand about COVID, I mean, the virus is extremely easy to kill. So you disrupt its lipid coat with alcohol or soap or anything like that. And so I understand that this works exactly the same way. It just disrupts the outer surface. I mean, it's basically like rubbing sanitizer or something on it.
Is it like an aerosol?
Yeah, it comes out. It looks like a fog machine. It's a lot louder. It has a lot more volume that comes out, but it looks like a fog machine. So it's pretty neat. And you can fog an entire. I mean, we could easily fog this entire room from one point. You could be standing right there, and it can do a 10 by 10 room easily.
Interesting.
And probably less than a minute.
And it's breathable.
Yeah, it's safe. I don't know. I mean, we always have everybody wearing masks just in case. Right. From what I heard, it's very safe, but who knows? So everybody's
current guidelines.
Correct. Yeah, they said it's safe. And actually, Les Fang was talking about fogging himself before he leaves. And I know my team has been very on top of that. They enjoy it. So, we're always wearing N95s during the day anyway. And we don't really there's a shortage of N95s. So we don't take them off. We just leave them on all the time. We're wearing another mask over the top of it. So they're still wearing their N95 and somebody else is fogging them to make sure they're changing their clothes before they leave, but whatever is on you or maybe got somewhere that you didn't know, just as an additional safety protocol. And then we started wearing, before we would have gowns and things like that, but I mean, we didn't change gowns. Now we're changing gowns between every single patient. We're wearing face shields, we're wearing caps, for everybody.
Now you said the N95 masks you're using throughout the whole day.
Correct.
Just one mask.
Yep.
Are you changing them between days?
Yeah. So our current protocol is we have enough masks to give everybody 5 masks. And so everybody has 5 masks and they wear them each day of the week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And then those masks go into a bag and they sit there until the next day that they're supposed to be worn. So, I mean, they'll have a week rest time.
Right.
And so what the research has shown is that the virus is going to die on it within 3 to 4 days. So that's the way we do it. We have a place, everybody's got their name and everything's labeled, and that's what we do as far as those, and then you wear them again. And it's been very tough because there's temptation there, especially with us too. I mean, you go back in between patients and you're writing notes or something and you want to take this mask off, but you can really get maybe 4 to 5 on and offs total before the straps get really stretched out, before the mask is not serviceable anymore.
Yeah, because I was using an N95 mask, just like, you know, for heading out, and you know, there's shortage of N95 masks, so I used one for a long time.
Yeah,
and I realized over time that probably wasn't doing its job after a certain point. Correct. Because of, you know, like you said, loosening of straps.
Yep.
Or it losing some of its structure.
Correct. Yeah, and that's another one of our protocols is you have to, if the mask gets soiled in any way, if it gets wet, if you feel like it's becoming harder to breathe in and out of, then yeah, it's got to go in the trash and we have to get a new one. And so we just try and be very careful with them, because we know, and basically if we run out, we're closing. I mean, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. That's the guidelines. And again, I mean, that's something that's frustrating is the guidelines are so vague. It's like, okay, if you have to use N95, but if you can't get N95, then you don't have to use N95. And it's like, okay, well, what happens if you had N95 and then you can't get it anymore? Does that mean that you switch to something with lower protection? And you know, and then you look at OSHA's guidelines and they don't even say any of that. They say we advise our inspectors to use discretion when issuing citations, which doesn't mean anything to me. So the rules are still the same. You need N95. So it just goes back and forth, and it's hard to see who's in charge or who you're supposed to listen to. And so what I did also is I used my 3D printer, and we made everybody custom mask fitters as well. So if in the case that we do run out of N95, or somebody can't wear it, I mean, they are pretty hard to breathe in or something like that, or they don't have a size that fits them, we can use those in combination with a level 3 and a level 1 mask, and you can wear that over it. And there's been lots of tests. Actually, one of my friends just took a test the other day, the fit test, and the mask fitter passed. I mean, it passed the N95 fit test with the level with the surgical mask. Yeah. So that's you know, I try, my staff for the most part wears N95. I myself, depending on how our supplies are looking, basically, I'm prepared to wear the mask fitter. I trust it. I understand the data behind it. And, you know, by that time you have a level 3, a level 1, the mask fitter, another mask over the top of it, a face shield. We have high back. Yeah. I mean, we have high volume suction. We've got every possible thing, you know, trying to get rid of this aerosol, and we're screening these patients at the door. I mean, I think the scary part is now the data is 47% asymptomatic carriers. So that's the part. I mean, yeah, it's super high. So we need to basically assume that everybody is infected, even if they're not showing symptoms, which is not great.
but you got to make the best of the situation.
Correct. Yeah. And, you know, at some point we had to start seeing people, because there was a backlog of people who didn't want to come in, or, you know, maybe their situations were not emergency. But, you know, you leave a crown off a tooth long enough, you leave decay on a tooth long enough, it's not painful, it's going to become painful. And, you know, at some point, I mean, it became really, really depressing going into work when we weren't open, because, I mean, all we would do is call people all day long, and it was nice to talk to people all day long. But I mean, you have situations where somebody says, we talked about the filling that we needed to do in February, and we didn't get a chance to do it, or I had work or something like that, and now it's I'm worried about it. It's not sensitive right now, but I'm worried about it getting worse, and of course that weighs on you, because now you go, well, you know, if something happens, I mean, I guess technically, legally, it's not my fault, but you still have the guilt.
You wonder.
Yeah. And it really starts to play with your mind. I mean, you start to feel guilty about these things.
Right.
And yeah, it just became really, really depressing to go into work. So it's been fun.
It's been fun.
It's been fun. I would say we're really lucky with our team. You know, everybody's adapted really well, and it's hard coming back. One, I mean, you're coming back from not working for 2 months. 2, the world is a completely different place.
Right.
There's so many new regulations. There's so much, I don't want to say unknowns, but there's so much worry and surrounding this thing and how it's going to affect us. I mean, we kind of got into our routines when we were just stuck at home. We could very easily stay away from other people. We can we can get our groceries delivered, and we can do things like that. We can wipe it down. We have control.
Right.
And not to say, I mean, in the office, I feel extremely safe in my office. And you know, we did a poll, like I said, I mean, we had a big, huge chat with those 20 to 25 dentists, and we all talked, we did like a Zoom call in, and we talked about, hey, how do you feel? You know, do you feel safe in your office? Do you feel like you're going to get COVID in your office? And every single person said no. You know, we feel extremely safe in our office. We don't know. I mean, it's kind of my understanding and thinking that eventually probably everybody's going to get COVID. It kind of seems like it is just so contagious. But if you are going to get it, it's probably going to be at, you know, somewhere where you're not thinking about it. Yeah, it's going to be that one time that you got gas and you didn't sanitize, or you didn't sanitize well after touching the nozzle, or you know, you forgot your gloves or something. And it's going to be something simple like that. I mean, we control the playing field at the office,
right?
And we have every tool possible to make us feel safe and to control it. So it was good coming back, and at least you have your home field advantage, as it were. And I know it's been tough on our team. Just so many changes, and we're so used to. Benny and I had the chance to talk to patients the whole time while we were gone, and we understood how much the world had changed, and how, like we talked about earlier, how much the people were more patient and more understanding now. And right. I you know, our team hadn't been able to see that because they hadn't spoken with people. And so they were very worried about, okay, now we have to wear, you know, we have to change our gown, and we have to change our face shield, and we have to put on this and do this, and we have to fog the room and wipe it and all stuff. And, you know, they were worried about running perfectly on time, and they were worried about patients. You know, we asked them to come 10 minutes early because we don't know, you know, they may have to wait in their car if all our waiting room chairs are full, or, you know, we don't want any cross traffic in the hall, so we don't let them come in until the other patient is leaving or has left. And so they were worried that people wouldn't show up or late, or that people would show up late and they wouldn't be able to do a good job because they would be running behind and things like that. And so I know pretty much everybody in our office has had like a mental breakdown, myself included, about that. And I think having worked now for a full week, we only did doctors only on Monday, Tuesday, and then we did doctors and hygiene Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And so having gotten through three full days of a quote unquote max operation, which is way reduced from what we had before, you know, things started to go a lot smoother, and we started to see, I mean, patients if we asked patients to show up 10 minutes earlier before, they would get mad, or they wouldn't. I mean, there's some that would, but for the most part, right, people would say, why, I'm just going to fill out my forms there. You know, and now we can just say, hey, you know, it's electronic. We'll text it to you. Go back to your car and you can fill out the forms, or just fill it, you know, here's the email, fill it out at home on your computer. It's way easier. I would much rather do that than do a paper form. Right. And it just comes in and digitally, and it goes right into their chart. It's super easy. So I think now everybody having seen that for a few days, there's a better understanding that, okay, we can do it. And we can still do our same good work and feel comfortable with what we're doing. It's just a few added things, and you know, we have to adjust our mindset. Certainly, I mean, it's not going to be easy. There's no way that this was going to be easy. One, after coming back we're not working 2 months. I mean, you have to reset your schedule, and then now you've got all these other steps, all this other stuff going on in the back of your head that you're thinking about, and I'm wearing a face shield, and it's messing with my loops or something like that. And you just kind of roll with the punches and figure out, okay, this is, you know, you just make little changes. My loop light was hitting my shield and it was driving me crazy. And so you modify it, and you know, it's kind of fun. This is what we do anyway. I mean, that's what we do as a dentist, right? We problem solve. And so, you know, you figure out a way to mount your light on the outside and make it better and make it perfect. And you know, after 5 days of working as a dentist, I mean, it was okay. It really wasn't a big deal by then, and we've scheduled appropriately. I mean, we've lengthened our appointments significantly. There's gaps between patients. There's all sorts of stuff, and I want to say, like, probably some of the hardest part for my team is not a lot of them go home, they have kids, or they go home for lunch, and now they don't want to do that because they don't want to change their clothes, go home, possibly contaminate their home or whatever, and then come back and have to change again, and something like that. And so everybody's kind of, and you can't really eat at the office anymore because we have a break room, but the table is the size of this table, and so you could get two people that are 6 feet apart, and all of a sudden everybody else is super close. So that's kind of off limits as well. But they've made the best of it. It's been really nice. The weather's been really nice, and there's a patch of grass outside. So everybody's bought lawn chairs, and we're having picnics out in the sun for lunch, and so that's pretty neat. And I think that's really cool.
Yeah,
and I love that. Yeah.
Yeah, there definitely are positives that have come out
for sure
dealing with a pandemic like this.
Yeah, and I know we talked a lot about the bad sides of the pandemic and how tough it is to be a practice owner and what it's like, all the new things that we're having to deal with. But yeah, I mean that's part of the process. I think is really adjusting to the new normal, and you have to find the good things, and there are definitely good things. I mean, we think about the planet. We think about the less traffic, less people commuting, less pollution like that. We think about kind of this reset in all of our lives, and now people are a little bit more understanding, like I've talked about before. And we take a step back, and we look at our lives from a different perspective. And you know what, if something changes, or you can't take that vacation that you were planning on, or they have to cancel a trip because it's impossible, and now you just kind of roll with the punches, and that's good. I think every once in a while we do need a little correction like that. I think our team is closer than ever, as far as an office perspective, because you go through something like that. I mean, it reminds me of dental school a little bit. It reminds me of first year dental school, right? You all go to war together, and it makes your bond stronger. And that was the same thing here. I mean, we went through this really tough thing together, and now we're coming back, and it's still tough, and we're still going through all the changes and everything like that. But people are backing each other up. People are bonding and working together. And I think, obviously there's struggles and things there, and people are stressed and whatnot, but they work with each other, and they're coming up with new solutions on their own, and okay, how can I make this better? How can I improve this? And that's great. And before we had that too, but I think it's definitely become stronger, and the bond between everybody is a lot stronger. And also from a patient side as well. I mean, we have to think that every patient that I've seen thus far, I think maybe before, dentistry was definitely seen as like a commodity. People come in, they get their teeth cleaned, they don't expect to pay for anything, they leave, and that was it. I mean, it was like getting the oil change in your car or something like that. And I think now that we've had this break, and people see, actually, I do need dental care, and I see what can happen if we only cut it out for 2 months. Think of how crazy it would be. I mean, I think of people who don't go to the dentist for 15 years, and I just can't even imagine what that's like. But I think all of these people who were so used to coming, and it just became a regular commodity for them, I think now they go, okay, I actually do need it, and I understand that there is value to what we do.
Right.
Because that's the trend that I've been seeing a lot in dentistry as well. It's becoming commonplace. I mean, it's just that's something that you do. It's not anything special. And I know at our office, I mean, we've really been trying to change that, and focus our efforts on improving our experience. And we always have new stuff, and we try and go out of our way to be the most high tech, the nicest, the most friendly, the most on time office, to make ourselves stand out. And I think actually this has helped us in that quest, because there's an appreciation now for that. So I mean, from the dental side, or from the practice owner side, I mean, yeah, there's really been some nice positives. It also allowed us, I mean, a little bit more from a business side. Yeah, the financials aren't super stellar, but it gave us time to do. I mean, when do you ever get a chance to close your office for 2 months? I mean, it gave us a chance to repaint. It gave us a chance to replace furniture, to clean the carpets, to rebuild things in the back that we've been meaning to do it, and we'll get to it eventually, or we had to replace some plants and all this stuff, and it was perfect timing for that because we could do it whenever. We didn't have to finish it in on a Saturday, Sunday, and we had to reopen on Monday. I mean, we had plenty of time to do all those things. So the office got some much needed TLC as well, which is good and necessary from time to time. So that was very nice. And I think one more positive is, well, I guess it's a positive, is we really got to see our suppliers. I mean, supply chain was such a large issue, getting supplies, getting masks, face shields, et cetera, and seeing how, the price of PPE has gone crazy, and companies are upselling. And I paid from place I paid $150 for 20 masks. We're paying $750 a mask. And we look back at our regular, we work with Patterson Dental a lot, and they've been really good to us. They've been helpful and, been very transparent. Okay, this is what we have and this is what we can get you. When I understand that they can't get everything, and that's not their fault. They're just working from within their means. But when they do get us stuff, they're not price gouging. They're not doing any of those things. And I think it really brought out kind of the true colors in a lot of maybe some of these other companies that maybe there's not as much of a ethical obligation, or, to me, that just sounds like taking advantage of the situation. And,
right.
We've had a really long-standing relationship with Patterson, and now, I think it's good for them. People realize, okay, this is why we do work with them, because, the company, this is what they do. They're nice and they're good. And to not try and grease the pockets of their CEO or whatever by jacking the price of PPE up is pretty good.
Right.
And that's very nice.
Storm, thank you so much for taking the time and sharing so much with us. If you like, you can have this opportunity to kind of share some details about your practice if anyone would like to get in contact with you, or...
Yeah, love to. So we're a family business. My parents started the practice back in the 80s, and I bought it along with my business partner actually earlier this year. What a perfect year to buy a practice. We're at Fountain Valley in Orange County, California, and we're between the three of us, there's 3 doctors there, myself, business partner, and my dad, and now we've got 3 hygienists working with us as well. So we've been around for a long time. We're very fortunate to have been around for a long time. I'm sure being a startup business during this is probably insane. But yeah, if anybody ever has any questions or wants to chat, I'm more than happy to talk through Messenger, or come down. If you want to see the office, you can. We're just a couple miles from the beach in Orange County.
Do you have like a website?
Yes, absolutely. It's Hagen, Hagen, and famdental.com.
Okay.
Check us out online. Or
Spelled
you can
out.
go, yep. It's
Gotcha.
all spelled out. It's a very long website. Or you can check us out on Instagram. It's HP Dental FV is our
Gotcha.
handle on Instagram. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. Thanks, James.
All right. Well, thank you very much. Hopefully this was pretty informative, and we'll see if we're about doing any more in the future.
I like it.
All right. Peace.